thought I told him to spray it with water to retain moisture before applying the film. You can't treat a glaze lily like a cactus. If Sanjay does this again, the loss will have to come out of his food.
I'll go talk to him. At this rate, he won't even be able to afford it.
Hey, Tighnari!
Oh, it's you two. It's been a while.
We didn't have anything to do, and this place looked pretty lively, so we decided—
Well, Port Ormos is currently organizing a flower exhibition. The exhibition includes flowers from every corner of the world, each with their own unique prop. Even so, an expert is still required to develop tailored transportation.
Oh, and
Not this time, no. I'm just here to help out. The expert in charge.
Mr. Tighnari! Sanjay! He confused the poisonous—
Never mind. Forget about— Apologies, Traveler, Paimon. Looks like I've got something to take—
Tighnari's busy no matter where he is, huh? Yeah, seems like it. Hey, don't look at Paimon like that. Well, looks like Tighnari might be busy for a while. Let's— Wow, look at these flowers! They smell so...
Huh?
Paimon's... fine. She's just got a little...
Rainbow roses, glaze lilies.
It's getting worse. But, I was...
A moment of your time, you two? If it's not too much trouble, perhaps you could try this incense.
Incense? Oh, the scent is so nice. Whoa, that was fast. Paimon doesn't have to sneeze anymore.
Think nothing of it. From your attire, I imagine you two, seeing as we're both travelers from abroad, it's only right that we help each other out.
Oh, so you're here for the flower exhibition too?
I suppose that's accurate. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Émilie, a perfumer from Fontaine.
Paimon is Paimon. Thank you so much for your...
The traveler, right? I've heard a lot about you from the Steambird. It's nice to finally put a...
What happened back there? Why did Paimon start...
Have you ever heard of hay fever? To put it simply, when inhaled,
But Paimon has seen these kinds of flowers...
Well, we're all different. The factors that can trigger a reaction to certain stimuli vary by person. In isolation, but there's no need to worry. Pollen allergies can be effectively mitigated with the use of medication.
Oh, well, that's good.
Traveler, Paimon, there you are. I left in such a hurry, I forgot to warn you about all the pollen in the air. Émilie? What a coincidence. Looks like my work...
It was nothing, really. We happened to run into each other shortly after my... I'm more curious as to why you thought the Traveler and Paimon were in danger.
Remember the first time we met? You fainted after inhaling Spirit Borneal.
The Spirit Borneal didn't affect Paimon at all, and now...
It's not really something you can make sense out of, Paimon. There are all kinds of allergies out there, caused by a variety of...
Exactly. I even encountered a case in Fontaine where someone had an allergic reaction to soba noodle.
Whoa. Good thing Paimon isn't allergic to anything delicious.
In a manner of speaking, although you could say the patient...
In addition to medicine, Émilie is also very knowledgeable about botany. She's taught me a lot about the native flora around Fontaine.
And that's where my expertise ends, I'm afraid. When it comes to breadth of knowledge, Tighnari certainly comes...
A flower expert? Oh, Paimon's got it! You must be the expert Tighnari mentioned, the one in charge of the exhibition!
Wrong again, I'm afraid.
Well, I did come for the exhibition, but only to inquire about the Auguste variety. I'm not involved in any official capacity.
Oh, Paimon was sure she got it right this time.
It's a kind of flower that was once popular in Fontaine. The perfume made from it also bears the same name.
Auguste, huh?
In an ancient language, the word is said to mean sacred or noble. It's sometimes used as a name for people as well. Ah, that reminds me. Are you familiar with a historical event in Fontaine known as Perfume Mania? Perfume Mania was an event that occurred in Fontaine nearly 20 years ago. It all started when several merchants released their own lines of high-end, expensive perfumes, marketing them as must-have luxury products, the very symbol of elegance itself. No one anticipated the absolute frenzy this would. The demand was twofold. What some saw as a status symbol, most saw as the value of these products became so inflated. But at the end of the day, perfume is just perfume. The market value greatly Luckily, the Palais Mermonia recognized in the end, only a few wealthy families were.
What does all this have to do with that Auguste you mentioned earlier?
Well, during the craze, the most popular perfume was none other than Auguste. The demand far exceeded the supply, to the point where it once sold for 10 million more a bottle.
10 million? Then what about now?
After the mania ended, most perfumes returned to a normal price. Auguste was the only exception. Its namesake, the flower used to create it, went extinct. As a result, no new bottles of Auguste have. Indeed, the Auguste flower was not a natural variety, you see. It was specially cultivated for use in perfume making. When the bubble popped, all the flower beds used for its cultivation were destroyed in a fire. The variety has never been seen since.
But didn't you say you came to the exhibition to look for it?
Ah, yes. I came to investigate a certain rumor that the Auguste flower has reappeared in Sumeru. It's causing quite the stir in the Fontaine perfume market.
Traveler, we should help Émilie look for it.
I have to agree. Émilie wrote me to ask if I could look into the rumor, but the forest rangers haven't received any reports.
Even if I can locate the flower, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed, Paimon. I don't have any grand morum. Divine, noble, one of a kind. All beautiful sentiments, to be sure. But to me, when it comes to perfume, I want people to forget the price and the prestige and focus on the beauty of the fragrance itself.
Wow, so noble.
Of course, there's also a more practical reason. In recent years, low-grade, every so often someone will claim to have recreated the unique scent of Auguste, and the rumor mill will start comparing the counter.
Okay, that's more like the...
Ever since that rumor started, 3 new perfumes claiming to be made from the Auguste flower. If I can dispel the fanaticism surrounding Auguste, even just by proving the rumor to be false, Fontaine's perfume market can finally start to get... Then I'll be free from all the stories and added meaning and just...
That makes sense.
Oh, I would of course be grateful for your help, but
Well, you said it yourself. We're both travelers.
I suppose you're right.
Based on the information I have so far, it's unclear if the rumor is true. Mr. Edgar also thinks it's too early to say.
I was just about to pay him a visit at the hotel.
Edgar?
The person you've been trying to guess this whole time. Back when he was still working in Fontaine.
I should also mention, he was my teacher. The one...
So this guy was a famous perfumer in...
It's a long story. If you're interested, we can talk more about it when we see him. He should be...
Oh, look at all the flowers!
Apparently, the exhibitor paid a large sum to rent out the hotel and surrounding buildings.
Yeah, what if guests come early? They won't have anywhere to stay. Also, renting out this big of a hotel, how are they gonna make that Mora back?
It's been so long, I almost didn't recognize you, Edgar.
Well, you and your brother haven't changed a...
Oh, yeah, look, all this catching up is nice and all, but let's get down to business.
Hold on, we have guests.
It's nice to see you again, Master.
Émilie? Is that you? Oh, I've heard you've become quite the famous perfumer in Fontaine.
Oh, well, it's all thanks to your mentorship.
Hardly. I taught you the basics. I've taught many students here in Sumeru over the years, but I've yet to see one turn out quite as accomplished as you. And who are these two? I don't recall.
They're my new friends, the Traveler and Paimon.
Emily's friends.
And these two gentlemen are the...
Of course. We're perfume merchants from Fontaine. I'm Oud, and this here is my younger brother, Blaze. Edgar and the two of us...
Yes.
Merchant brothers?
You must be here to look for the August flower then.
Well, what respectable perfume merchant hasn't heard of a goose?
I'm guessing you're here for the same reason, Emily. We were just about to get into it, so you three might as well. I commissioned a few eremites to do some scouting for me. That being said, there are people in Port Ormos. Some of them were merchants who lived in Fontaine 20 years ago. A one-of-a-kind, divine...
Maybe someone around here just happens to have...
No, I don't think so. I doubt that's the case. Even if someone had a bottle, that Auguste is even more prone to that kind of shift. Only a few although, could there be a flower out there with a similar...
Impossible. If a goose were that easy to replicate...
Technically speaking, the scent wouldn't be...
Well, let's table that question for now.
No. By the time they realize, compared to things we see and hear, smells...
It almost sounds like...
Wait, are you saying...
Just thinking out loud.
We don't have much to go off of right now, but you all traveled so far.
Ooh, you've got the keys to the rooms?
My apologies. I managed to tidy up one of the rooms for these two at the...
Oh, and we just showed up out of the blue. Guess that means...
I should have been...
Don't worry, Master. I can sleep on the boat tonight. Or I could even camp in the wild. It would give me... even better. Although, would it be possible for me to leave some of my luggage here?
Well,
Of course, no trouble.
all right then. Oud, I'll prepare some refreshment.
Whoa, the smell of flowers is so strong. Didn't Edgar say he tidied up? Paimon took a peek through the window earlier and his house was packed with flowers. Looks like this...
No, that's a florist thing. We work closely with the essential oils of various plants, but to maintain a sharp sense of smell, most perfumers prefer to keep their homes free of strong odors.
Oh, guess there's just too much to store for the exhibition then.
Oh, this room seems to be a connected suite. And my brother will be staying on the other side. Blaze, while you're out, why don't you bring our luggage? Blaze!
Yes.
All right, then. Where can we find your luggage, mademoiselle?
It's still at the port. In addition to some daily necessities, there's also a case of amber wine that I brought back from Fontaine. Could I trouble you to bring that back as well? It would be the perfect way to...
How generous. I should thank you on my brother's behalf.
Is that so? Mr. Oud, Mr. Blaze...
Hey! What are you doing?
That's Master's voice.
Edgar!
Master!
Hey, Edgar!
Who did...
Khaenri'ah.
Hey, Edgar? Edgar!
No, don't shake him. He's injured. Just leave him to me. You two can... Oh, thank you.
I checked. It doesn't look like it...
Oh, but that's impossible. Oh, the culprit, I mean. It's not like the culprit...
that strange smell around here. Is it coming from this bottle? Oh, really? Do you think whoever did this was hiding in the... Well, we looked all over, but the only clue we found was that...
The most important thing we can do now is focus our efforts on treating Master.
So, how's he doing?
When I administered emergency treatment, I discovered a residue in his nose and mouth. Master he's still unconscious, and inducing vomiting could obstruct his airways. Ah, yes. The scent is the same, but the chemical But first, I do believe there are two Mr. Sylvain, Mr. Lucian.
Wait, you know...
Hey! Were you talking to us, mademoiselle?
Before arriving in Sumeru, I asked a friend from the Special Patrol to look into the creators of There were 4 people in total. The perfumer, Edgar, a researcher from Sumeru responsible for cultivating the 2 brothers capitalized on the mythos surrounding Auguste. In the end, they were sent to the Fortress of Meripede for falsifying their accounts and...
And what does that have to do with us?
Every time your brother called you Blaze, it took you several...
Ah, Miss Émilie, out of respect for your you have a bright future ahead of you. You wouldn't want to develop...
You claim to be regular perfume merchants, and yet, when I...
What?
Amber wine is a perfume I created several years ago. It wasn't particularly renowned, but I'm certain any respectable perfume merchant in Fontaine would know of it. Unless, until recently, they were living somewhere completely...
Émilie, you little...
Don't misunderstand, Mr. Sylvain. I don't bring this up to criticize you, no matter what happened all those years, but Master's life is in danger. We need to learn whatever we can about the... If Master's attack had something to do with Auguste, I would imagine the 2 of you. So I'd like to trouble you for some information.
Fine.
Sylvain!
Lucian, if this will help us find Khaenri'ah, then it will be all worth it. Besides... You were right, Miss Émilie. There were 4 of us at the beginning. Myself, Lucian, Edgar. Sometime down the road, the Marechaussee Phantom came...
Sounds like he's still upset about that. Wait, then how did Edgar end up in
Master was convicted as an accomplice, so he only had to serve a few years. He decided to move to Sumeru so that he could put those events behind. Still, Master was depressed for a long time after that. He stopped making new... That's how I met him. My parents had to relocate to Sumeru for work when I was... But we can talk about that some other time. I want to hear more about this researcher, Vijava.
Like us, Vijava was also staring down... But before the Phantom showed up at her door, she...
But destroying all that evidence, wouldn't...
It didn't matter at that point, because she died in the fire as well.
What?
Sounds like you did an investigation of your own. Why even ask us if you knew...
The name wasn't mentioned in any of the files I reviewed either.
Khaenri'ah was Vijava's younger. He was just a clueless kid back then. Somewhere in his teens. Vijava kept him close most of the time. After our operation was compromised.
So, you think Khaenri'ah took something with him back then?
Vijava doted on the kid like you wouldn't believe. She even told us to give her cut to her if she left something behind before she died. Believe me.
And judging by the liquid in that bottle, the Auguste flower wasn't the only thing he reproduced. He managed to replicate the perfume.
So the liquid Edgar was forced to ingest really was Auguste.
Poison? No. Of course not. No, if Auguste could be considered a poison, we wouldn't have even sold half a bottle. He probably thought we had something to do with his sister. We're not looking for Khaenri'ah because we have it out for... We only went to prison for a bit of fraud and market manipulation. As long as we keep things honest this time around, bringing the product back...
So that's why you never mentioned Khaenri'ah during your interrogation?
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, that's all we know. If you're looking for information on what's in a good...
Well, at least we're able to say for certain that the substance...
Well, glad to hear it. Lucian, let's head back to the room and rest a bit.
Yes, of course.
You think so too? That does seem to be the case. But based on Sylvain's tone of voice just now...
The way you exposed them like that? Just based on a hunch? Oh, right! Earlier you said you were only sort of a doctor.
Oh yes, that's because most of the patients I encounter...
So you're a forensic...
Close. I'm actually a forensic cleaner. Once the forensic team and the Marechaussee Phantom are done collecting evidence from the scene, I'm in charge of clearing away the final traces my patients leave. In fact, with just a small alteration to the formula, the same tincture used... Basically, there are two sides to forensics. Those who collect evidence to expose the... I've learned a lot in my line of work, and I've witnessed a lot of death. But this time, we may still save the patient. Actually, Traveler, could I trouble you to report back to Tighnari, and I'll stay here and continue to look after Master.
Whoa, why the rush? Did something happen?
What? Edgar was attacked? He's the most famous perfumer in the region. Someone who's helped countless people around Port Ormos. How could this happen?
Sheriff, have you received any reports of a suspicious individual fleeing through the bazaar?
No, but we've got eyes all over the area. I'm sure someone's seen Khaenri'ah. I'll start gathering my forces. We won't let him get away.
What about you, Tighnari? Do you...
I'm sure the sheriff can handle things over at the scene, and I doubt Émilie needs my help looking at...
But she said she's not a real doctor.
Then she was far too modest. She may not be a doctor by trade, but she has a deeper understanding of human anatomy and pharmacology than most scholars, not to mention the fact that Mr. Edgar's condition is related to perfume. Émilie is certainly in the best position to help him. As for me, I'll head to the academia and see what I can learn about Vijava and Khaenri'ah.
Oh, that's right! Vijava was supposed to be a scholar from Sumeru. Do you recognize the name?
From Émilie's letter, certainly, but that was the first time I'd heard of it. The academia produces a lot of scholars, and there are plenty of graduates who choose to pursue a career outside their darshan. I didn't have time to look into it earlier, but now it seems like Vijava's past could be critical to getting to the bottom. I have friends in Sumeru City that can help me investigate. With any luck, we'll have news to share by tomorrow. I'll leave you and Émilie to watch over things here in Port Ormos.
Well... But things weren't looking good with Émilie's master yesterday. We should check on things at the hotel first. Émilie!
No longer in critical condition, thankfully. My chemical analysis of a goose also went smoothly, although it's certainly I was able to identify the components that give the substance its fragrance, but
Elemental energy?
hard to say. It was such a minute amount, proportionally speaking. Like, I had to use one of the newest tests developed in recent years to even detect the traces present in the sample. Unless you were abnormally sensitive to elemental energy, I doubt it would have any effect, even if you... As for whether Master's condition was caused by the elemental energy present in the...
Oh, that reminds Paimon. Did Tighnari come and find you?
I received a message from him last night, but
Oh, Paimon thought he might have stopped by to see you. Excuse me? Is Miss Émilie here? Oh, perfect! Familiar faces! Traveler!
Kale. Ah, of course. Tighnari's apprentice. And please, no need for formalities. And
Okay. Nice to meet you too, Miss, Émilie. Did Tighnari send you here, Colin? Yep. Master and the others went through decades worth of records last night and still haven't had a chance to rest. Anyway, based on what they've reviewed so far, Master considered that possibility as well. But the name wasn't the only dead end. How is that possible?
it's starting to seem very likely. If we want to figure out her true identity, I'm afraid another conversation with those two merchants might be our...
Hey! Lucian!
It's Sylvain! Wait, you don't think Kirio came back, do you?
That seems impossible. If someone came in or out of the hotel just now, we would have seen them. It's locked?
There's no one here.
Lucian! Lucian!
That's Sylvain.
Lucian! Lucian! Come on! Émilie, Émilie! My brother, he's gonna be okay, right?
I'm sorry, Mr. Sylvain, but...
No, that's not...
Traveler, Kale, Mr. Sylvain has gone through a huge shock. He needs some space to calm down. Could one of you take him next door? It's not good for him to look at his brother's body.
Of course. Leave it.
Thank you both. Mr. Sylvain, let's get you up. Here. We'll take things from here. Just focus on getting some rest. Here, this way.
Poor guy. He's like a shell of his former self. He may have made some bad decisions and...
Good person or bad, the death of a loved one is equally painful. All the moments he shared with his brother, every hardship and triumph they endured together, are now...
If Kirio really was behind this, then what exactly did he do to Lucy?
Lucian can no longer speak, but the traces left behind by his death... Traveler, I've got things covered here at the scene. I'll leave you to contact the sheriff.
Who would have thought? Yesterday's case is still up in the air. Miss Émilie, I heard you're an experienced forensic doctor. Have you been able to...
Oh, I'm not actually a forensic doctor. I just happen to have some relevant knowledge. I did take a look, though. Judging by the temperature and rigidity of the body, it appears the time of...
Then, would you mind helping us investigate before he left?
Of course, I appreciate your trust. Many of the traces left behind...
We'll help too. We don't know much of... And the windows are shut tight too.
So, did you find anything?
Paimon can show you. Here, it'd be something like this.
But entering through the room next door without alerting Sylvain...
No, his reaction to the loss of his brother seemed genuine.
Then what could have happened last night? I know...
I agree. Also, I've made some new
Mr. Sylvain, I need you to tell me everything you and your brother did since yesterday.
After Khaenri'ah attacked Edgar, my brother and I were... We returned to our rooms and decided to lock all the doors. The only door we kept unlocked was the one connecting... But I didn't hear any sort of commotion last night. Not a single noise!
So, no movement from the room next door. No signs of a struggle at the scene, and no external
I did notice a few things about the body. Lucien's pupils were dilated, and his skin was flushed. There weren't any traces of liquid in his mouth or nose, so it's unlikely he was forced to ingest anything.
A goose? No, that's not possible. Inhaling? No. Émilie, you ran your tests, didn't you? Go on.
No, I didn't find any common toxins.
See? A goose is harmless.
That may be true for...
Master!
Edgar? You're up.
Thanks to Émilie, I'm out of... Sylvain, no matter how hard you may try...
Edgar!
Even if we could keep it a secret for another 10 or 20 years... No, he would never give up. Not if... That's Vijava's... Yelena wasn't a scholar from Sumeru.
A Fatous?
The Fatui. Well, that...
Ah, so you've already detected it.
Oh.
The August flower was created with the mutative and distorting power.
The Fatui, delusions... I never would have thought Auguste was hiding this many secrets.
Born of a delusion, Auguste contained distorted elemental energy. A prolonged exposure over many years.
That's enough, Edgar. At first, Yelena wanted to keep refining the perfume and the flower. It didn't have any effect on ordinary people anyway.
So you decided poisoning people was worth the risk?
Listen, it's not like it was good for business. But all that talk about unless you were particularly sensitive to elemental energy.
It may be true there are no records of Auguste poisoning in Fontaine, but even if no one was acutely poisoned, willfully bringing a product to market despite that explains why you were so intent on keeping Yelena in the Fatui, delusions.
Ha! If I'd known coming to Sumeru would put a target... All these years without any sign of Khaenri'ah, and Auguste was harmless before.
So there's bad blood between you.
What about Yelena's death? Was that a cover-up too?
I'll admit, we thought about it at one point. We took care to disguise the product circulating on the market, and no one was questioning Yelena. But if the Marechaussee Phantom decided to look into the flower beds, before we could even put our plan in motion, Yelena beat us to it.
But if her goal was to destroy evidence, yeah, she could have just burned the flower beds and fled with...
I thought about it for a long time, but everything she did. One of the reasons they defected from the Fatui was the deterioration. After arriving in Fontaine, Yelena...
So she couldn't flee with her brother because she was afraid of
If her true identity was exposed. The Auguste flower and Yelena's own corroded body both, so in the end, she burnt it.
So the wealth you earned from Auguste, it wasn't destroyed in the...
Most likely. Before Yelena died, she said if any... That's why Lucien and I were searching for Khaenri'ah.
But why is Khaenri'ah out for for revenge.
I don't think he knew his sister was near. Elena always wore heavy makeup around him.
Then all we'll need to do is tell Khaenri'ah what really
I'm not so sure. Even if he knew the truth, he'd still find someone to blame. He might think Elena was forced into using. It's hard to pull yourself out of that kind of hatred.
Very true. Even if Elena's death was her own choice,
Edgar!
Think about it, Sylvain. If we hadn't been in such a hurry to capitalize, if we hadn't been so blinded by greed, so insistent on increasing the scale of the flower cultivation, if we hadn't invited the Marechaussee Phantom to our doorstep by breaking the law.
She knew her limits. She knew her days were numbered. Maybe it was for her brother, but we were just trying to earn a bit of moral. And what, we deserved to die for that? Lucien's crime. Was it really so extreme that he had...
The only person...
Fine. I've said my piece, and...
3 people from Fontaine, 1 from Snezhnaya, and a crime committed in Port Ormos. Well, we can only wait until the Academia sends someone to deal with it. I'm guessing we'll have to contact Fontaine. With the exhibition...
The hotel could suffice. You could station a few officers to keep an eye on Sylvain. Although with Sylvain's mental state and my physical one...
Mr. Edgar, are you saying...
If Sylvain is to stand trial, then I deserve the same fate. I'd just like to take care of a few things. As for Sylvain, Would you be willing to grant that request?
Well, all right. I'll talk to the man we grew to know in Sumeru proved himself to be a good person.
You have my thanks, Sheriff.
Happened tonight?
Yeah, all we know is that he uses a goose to poison people. But we still have no idea how to... If he targets Sylvain or Edgar again...
That may be true. But what if we can take it... If we take advantage of this situation and look...
Master, no! That's too dangerous.
If Khaenri'ah learns we're being taken away tomorrow, his last chat... In other words, you want to use us as...
Capture? Not necessarily.
Afraid? This is my only chance. I'm spending the rest of my life in prison anyway. I can't just sit back and let him ride off. As for the danger, everyone else just...
I'll admit, it could work. We just need to spread the word that Edgar... Then I'll station some of my men around the hotel. If we have your assistance...
I still have some reservations. But if you insist on carrying...
I'll also keep watch.
Although I think Sylvain and myself... If Khaenri'ah noticed another person in the room, he might decide to turn back. And besides...
You mean if he doesn't see a way to get his hands on the...
If that were to happen, everyone's standing guard. Even the...
That's why everyone else needs to keep to the shadows.
You're still recovering. You need to rest.
This old pack of bones.
All right, we can figure out a plan to keep watch later.
Have you heard? Mr. Edgar's been detained.
What? He's the one who helped craft all the fragrance.
He taught my child how to make perfume. How could this...
He hasn't been convicted yet. Let's just wait and see what...
Oh, everyone on the street is talking about the rumors. Let's head back to the hotel and take a break. We can...